Today, I would like to offer another kind of guided meditation. One that is a powerful and very effective meditation. So much so that it was one of the most favorite meditation techniques that many of the Buddhist monks used to use and apply. Specifically to address fear, panic, worry, the uncertainty and perplexity or confusions that we as human beings run across in life. I wanted to address that need today, also because I received requests from students to offer Maranasati. Maranasati in Pali is, in English we translate it as contemplation or reflection on death. Many of us are taught to be afraid of death. That is unwise, because when we look at others, at ourselves, in society, in the world, people in the past, people in the present, people in the future that will come after us in time, we all share with each other, if anything, that one thing, one fact. Our bodies might be different, our cultures, our languages, features, details, whatever those things may be, they all will have their own differences, uniquenesses. But one thing we all will 100% share, and that is death. Lord Buddha would often advise individuals who would come to him as they were mourning the death of someone they love, family members, friends, or those who were very close to them. And they would ask him, Bhante, why must there be death? And Lord Buddha would ask them in turn, were you born? And the answer, of course, would be yes. And Lord Buddha's response would be, so long as we are born, we will die. Anything that has a beginning has an end, when you look at it as such. Now, the way we understand Buddhism, in Buddhism, the presence or the certainty of death and its presence in everyone's life, that doesn't mean that it's a period at the end of a sentence. That's the final point, after which there is an abyss or anything like that. There's no such thing. Many have been the views, wrong views, which today still are prevalent, that tell people, or philosophies came up that encourage people to either say there is a forever after death. The body dies, but the spirit doesn't. That used to be called eternal view or eternalist view. The opposite extreme of that view we find the nihilist or annihilationist view that today we can call atheism or secularism. That says, well, once we die, that's it, lights out. These two are extremes, according to the teachings of Lord Buddha. And he addressed these along with 60 plus other views that were prevalent at the time in India 2,600 years ago. But this is not going to be a teaching as such on these matters. Instead, this will be a meditation, a guided meditation, that I want to share with you from this tradition, from the Theravada, specifically the Pali canon, and we have several suttas, so many places, excuse me, so many places we see Lord Buddha addressing the importance of Maranasati in different discourses throughout the different Nikayas. The inevitability of death, the realization of it, sets you free in this body, where the fear leaves you. Whatever fears you might have, whatever confusing perplexities you might be having to deal with, the worries, whether as a bhikkhu, as a monk, or earlier as a psychotherapist working with patients who were dealing with different aspects of fear in their lives, oftentimes I would ask, what is the worst thing that could happen? What is the worst case scenario? And after follow-up questions, finally we get to that big one. They say, I'm afraid of death. What if I die? So that does not have to be anymore a closed room of fearful possibilities anymore to you. Now, as we do the contemplation on death as a meditation, I do wish to tell you that at any point where it becomes overwhelming for you to continue, please stop the video or the audio, come back to the body. The way to do that is you can just open up your eyes and just look at your hands. Feel the seat underneath you. Feel the ground underneath your feet. And when it is all right, whenever you get to that point of, it's okay, Take a few more breaths, and if you want to resume, you can resume from right there. Or you can continue, well, you can start again, or you can just totally stop. And try it some other time when you feel a little bit more safe. Now, some things to remember. It is essential that you practice this meditation technique. It is a technique in the comfort of your home. Close the door. Have some of your items, you know that you're in your home, basically. Some items you might have on the walls that tell you, that remind you, every time you open your eyes, when it becomes overwhelming especially, that I am safe, I am here, I'm in my home. That is essential for you to feel that sense of safety. It is extremely important. And not just in this technique, but in all meditation techniques that we practice in this tradition, it is essential for you to feel safe, for you to feel secure and not in danger. That's why I encourage you to come back to that, your inner sense of goodness. As we practice Maranasati, or the contemplation or the reflection on death, certain things will change in your life. Things will not have such a strong hold on you, namely the fear, or the worrisome, or the remorseful, or the constantly nagging thoughts that you might have had. Suddenly they will fall off like dead leaves from a branch of a tree. You will realize that it's okay. Worst case scenario, 10, 20 years after, or 30 years, or 40 years, when I'm gone, all this is not going to matter. So what's the big deal? My job? Someone else will do it. What am I really worried about? It is our attachments to the various things that we have, all of which is based on false views, wrong views, which we call micchaditi, wrong view, versus right view, which is sammaditi. And that is what this practice really establishes you in. Sammaditi, right view. You start seeing what really matters, which is this very moment, and how I am living it. You see, all of us carry death with us. These hands, your hands, just look at one hand. Lift one hand up and look. Just look at it. You do know that it is not just flesh, not just the skin or the nails. Underneath the fleshy or skin parts of the body, try to see if you can touch the solid parts. Do you feel them? The different solid parts? Do you feel the joints where these things connect? That is your skeleton. Yours. No one else's. So, if all else fails and you're lost in confusion in your daily life, just touch your knuckles touch your fingers, touch your wrists, your elbows, anywhere where you can feel your bones. And that can itself become your comfort. To know that this is not all there is to it, this thing called life. Death gives a sense of security. I know in our culture it sounds very weird, or it's, it challenges the propaganda in life, to aggrandize, to celebrate the body and the beauty and this and that, the pleasures that come along with it. The dukkha, as we call it, suffering that comes along with it. Realizing, as you look at your hands, seeing the skeleton, the bones, as if you're using X-ray vision and you're just observing it, you start seeing death. Every moment there are organisms dying in us. Cells. Our cells. Nutrients, things, cells that are inside the food we eat. They're dying. So in a sense, we are also a walking cemetery. So you see, this completely challenges, looking at life in this manner challenges what we are normally engaged in thinking. This is when you're becoming more and more real and present and grounded. Another thing that I would like you to consider while doing this practice is that aside from being grounded, aside from feeling real, aside from walking away from fears and delusional thinking, suddenly you're going to notice that your steps have become lighter. You're a little bit more joyful because of your grasp onto things. The clinging, or the rather grabbing onto things, is now, your fingers are a lot looser around those things. You're not so attached. You care about the things that you used to care about. But whatever may happen, you're not clung to that, because you realize that all things will change. So this is when you're you're coming out of the movie theater, which we call illusion, the illusion of life. You're no longer buying into the story. You're living life truthfully and fully, with alertness, gratitude, appreciation, and honesty. So now we will begin the guided meditation. There will be periods of silence where I will stop talking to help you absorb and allow, especially the mind, to soothingly come and settle in. The comfort, excuse me, that this meditation brings. I say comfort because it allows the fear, as you're saying it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. When the mind starts shaking, when apprehension or anxiety or even fears might come up, not because of the practice, but because of what you think the practice might be doing, or it might do. So all those things we don't worry about. That's why we're doing this practice in a safe place. So safety is number one. Safety not just of your body, but safety of your mind. So make sure there's fresh air coming in. Your phone is turned off, so nothing disturbs you. And starting from a good place of being. That could be from a place of appreciation, a place of gratitude. But the way I like to start it is just looking at the body, like I was saying earlier, looking at the hands, noticing the hands are there, but they're not what they seem to be. I've accepted them to be covered up in this sheath, in this glove we call skin. And now if I go deeper, there's muscles, there's fats, there's ligaments, there's veins and arteries and tendons and what else? Bones. Bones will be crucial. And it's always good to work with your bones rather than an image or some movie, because they're yours. You're still inhabiting them. They are assisting you to live your life. So there's nothing to fear. I'm now reminded of when I was injured at the age of 8, and I had a shrapnel caught in my head from an injury. And they couldn't remove it because they were afraid it might kill me if they did. Nevertheless, they had taken these x-ray shots, and I had never seen x-rays as a child. So my parents had placed it in a cabinet, high up, in the cupboard. So I would put a chair underneath me, and I would climb up, and I knew where it was. So I would take this huge yellow folder, envelope type of thing, where they put the x-rays. And I remember the first time I looked at it, because I had seen the doctors looking at it, pointing to things and to my parents. So I pulled this dark plastic sheet-like thing, the x-ray, and I saw a skeleton. It was my head. And it freaked me out. I quickly put it there and shoved it back into the cupboard. But over time, slowly, I pulled it out and just looked at it. Just looked at it. Just looked at it. And then I started seeing how the edges, faint edges of my skin, my ears, they were still there. But the one that really stood out in white contrast with the black of the sheet was a skeleton. And I no longer was afraid of it. Because after all, I'm inhabiting it. It is helping me to live. So there's a lot of stigma around bones and skeletons. Our superficial culture has put fear into us. And that need not be so. So you can look at your hand. You're not looking at a skeleton, you're looking at your hand. You can rest assured that the bones are there. And that can be enough. That can be enough for you to know, okay, I'm here. Nothing to be concerned about. There's nothing macabre or some, freaky, horrifying thing. No, not at all. Far from it. So, however, anytime you feel uneasy, please come out. You can stop the video, audio, open the windows, just look outside, go for a walk. But remember to smile through and through, even and especially when you're meditating. So, to make this recording even more official, I will pay refuge and actually homage to Lord Buddha, take refuge, and because we have this technique thanks to him. And he showed several versions of it, of course, so what I am going to do here for you is one that could be used for both. Those of you who are seriously practicing meditation to attain Nibbana, because this practice will take you to Nibbana, or just trying to disassociate yourself from so many fixations in life and to again reestablish yourself in security and safety, true safety, and away from fear and worrisome thoughts. So lay people and monastics could benefit from this technique. So it's a combination of the different techniques that I've come across, and also applying therapeutic modalities in calming your central nervous down, reminding yourself that it's okay, smiling, forgiving yourself. Anytime you feel that tension, that, I'm not doing it right, or am I doing it wrong, or none of that. This is for you. This is for you. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saranam gacchāmi, Sanghaṃ saranam gacchāmi. Settle in. Feel the seat underneath you. With the hands resting in your lap or on your knees. Please make sure there are no tension-causing positions, either for your hands, your fingers, your legs, your back. So that you can go deep in your meditation. As you are relaxing more and more with each breath you take in and you release, notice the softness increase. Notice how any and all areas, joints in your body, surfaces of your skin, your muscles, any tension that might have been there are simply melting away with each and every breath. Remember that tension itself comes when we are not trusting enough. We're holding our breath, as it were. So we continue to breathe naturally, always opening up any tight spots you might find with gentleness, with kindness. Kindness towards yourself. As you're finding yourself becoming more and more situated with your awareness in the body, see if you can just let the breath continue and go on its own without trying to control anything. If at any point you feel uncertain or ungrounded, you may go ahead and open your eyes and just look around your room. Smile to yourself that you are in your safe space. And just gently close your eyelashes. And just go back to the breath. Come back to the body. And continue on this lovely journey of self-discovery. Remember to smile. find the mind becoming more and more balanced, less agitated, as you allow the smile to continue. What you would also be doing is maintaining sati. Sati, which is mindfulness. The ability to remember again and again, to stay with whatever it is that is happening, both in your mind in any mental conversations you might be having, and especially in this case, the body. So remembering to stay with whatever that is taking place is crucial. So in this restful state of awareness, in this safe space, see if you can imagine briefly an area in front of you, in front of where you're sitting. A white sheet, piece of white cloth that is covering the ground. It's very clean. Now on this piece of white cloth, you see yourself lying down. Very comfortably. As if you had just gone to deep sleep. But you are observing the details of the body. You're noticing your feet. You're noticing your toes. And as you go up, you're noticing your hands, your torso, your head, your face that is smiling, with your eyes closed. Now you are seeing this in your mind's eye. Now outside this area, you see all those people you cared about, family members, loved ones, friends, walking away with their backs turned towards you. We are not concerned with their expressions on their faces, what they might be saying as they're walking away. You, this version of you that is lying there in front of you, is perfectly comfortable, perfectly satisfied. For you have said goodbye. You allowed all those responsibilities that you've been holding in life. Responsibility of being a child to someone, a daughter, a son, a father, a mother, a husband, a wife, a friend to someone, an enemy to someone else, a career, a job, a position, deadlines, responsibilities of all sorts are also walking away from you. And then you look at your toes lying there just in front of you on that white sheet. You are safe. You will never see those things, those people, again. Never again in this body, in this form. Now fill the room with this version of you in front of you that you are visualizing in your mind's eye. Fill this room with compassion, with appreciation, with soft energy. There's no more rushing. There's no more trying. There's just resting. Now, see if there is any curiosity rising up in you to look at the features of the hands, of this body, your body, laying in front of you on the ground or on a table, it doesn't matter. This body that is still, this body that is dead, lifeless, and you, in your mind's eye, as you are meditating now, you are observing this body that is in front of you. If at any point it becomes overwhelming, just drop the image and come back to the breath. There's nothing to fear. This is an exercise to develop the mind, to develop patience, tolerance, and compassion towards ourselves, towards our bodies. But as we do so, to also increase wisdom. Through this practice of recollection of death, Maranasati, we use the body to gain freedom from the body. We are using the body to gain liberation through wisdom. As you're breathing in, check to see if there's any tension or tightness in your forehead, in your temples or in your hands, in your throat. If there's any tension built up, if any fear has risen, just compassionately radiate love to it, radiate light to it, metta to it. Saying it's okay, it's all right, there's nothing to fear. Now, that image of a white curtain upon which you saw yourself has disappeared. Instead, you're out somewhere in nature. And there you are seeing a ceremony being conducted. This could be a funeral home or cremation ground outside in nature. Or a burial site with people gathered. Whatever the setting may be for you, try to see the body and none of the other stuff. None of the other details, but just the body. Notice the body being naked. Perhaps it's been a few days past, or a week. Notice what that elapsed time has done to the body. See if discoloration has happened at the fingertips, the lips, the eyes, the skin. There's nothing to fear, remember. Anytime when you feel overwhelmed, you can just pull away from that scene and come back to the breath. At any time you can stop the video or the practice. But if you're ready, if you feel settled and secure, if you feel safe, then go back to that scene. Whether it's a cremation ground or a burial site. And now you're seeing the body that is naked or covered up with some shrouds, but you're seeing the feet, the hands. And see if the body has become bloated. So now it's been several more days past. If you feel like turning away, you may do so. Turning your gaze away from looking at the body, you may do so. Remember, nothing can touch you. You, the observer, are simply observing. You are safe. And see if you could slowly turn your gaze back to this dead body. And now it's been weeks past. And notice worms eating their way out through the skin, through the flesh, and have now become visible. If it's overwhelming, just come back to the breath. And if there's any tension or tightness in your forehead, in your eyebrows, in your jaw or your throat, just breathe into that. Always giving yourself metta. As you continue to observe this body, you begin to notice the internal features of the body showing up, and the skin has become dark. Meanwhile, you are standing aside from it at a safe distance, but you are observing this body. You're seeing the different parts of the skeleton appear through the skin and the muscles and the fatty tissues that are ever so quickly disappearing. There's nothing to fear. You are witnessing life. The other aspect of life. You are observing a process that is so true, so present. There is no fear. There is no need for fear. And now you observe the body barren, empty of all its flesh. You see bones. Parts of it are still covered in blood and dark liquidy substances, residues from a bygone era. See if you notice any features that catch your eye. Looking at it, hovering over it with your mind, this body. Look at the rib cage. Imagine yourself, your mind, almost like a camera, small hovering camera, flying through the rib cage. There's no soft tissues left. The heart is gone. Spleen is gone. No soft tissues. No guts, nothing. Just the bones that are getting whiter and whiter. More and more bleached as you keep looking at them. Revolving around this body, observing it from every angle, 360, up and down. Observe it without any inhibitions, with curiosity. Look at the skull, the eyes that are gone, left only the sockets behind. The vertebra, the spine, and the spaces in between, hovering through them, above them, around them. And now pull away your gaze and see yourselves, both of yourselves. You standing at a safe distance observing the body, and you who are now left as mere skeleton, laying on the floor, on the ground, on the soil. So observe both versions of you from a safe distance, the observer and the observed, the skeleton in the ground. The bones you see on the ground, white, bleached, and now as they begin to even scatter, because animals, dogs, other creatures come and try to steal it away, or the sun with its scorching heat, blazing and turning the bones even whiter. They no longer look fresh. See how the bones in time will come apart. The jawbone will separate from the skull. Animals will come and quarrel over these pieces and chew off whatever they want to get their hands on. Claw through the skeleton, and now it is all scattered. All these bones scattered all over the forest floor, everywhere. Here you see a jawbone. Here you see some teeth. There you see a few vertebrae. You look down and you see what used to be a finger, and now there's only a few bones of it left. There you see a shoulder blade and what looks like a thigh bone. all over the place. Breathe. Stay soft with whatever realizations that might come. Stay open. It's okay. It's okay. And as you're looking at the bones that are now becoming more and more eroded, you realize that those are my bones. Those are my teeth, my vertebra that used to be my spine, that would allow me to do things, carry this body around. That was my thigh bone, my toes, my fingers. But now, it's drifting. It's eroded fully. And it's become white powder mixed with the soil. All around me. Nothing to fear. Nothing to do other than observe. And as you're looking around you in this forest, you start to notice something else. You notice that this was not the only body that you have laid to rest here, that has joined with the forest here, only this body, but countless times before, with countless bodies that you have used and relinquished. Countless loved ones, countless mothers and fathers you had that you said goodbye to, countless children, friends, loved ones and enemies you said goodbye to. As you laid yourself down to rest, as a pack of bones, just like these ones, covering the whole entire forest, covering the whole entire region, covering the whole entire country, covering the whole entire world. But now they're indistinguishable from the world, from the country, from the region, from the forest. And if you're feeling comfortable enough, turn your gaze now into this body and try to see your bones again in this living, breathing body of yours, with which you are meditating, sitting comfortably in your room. Do you see the bones? Do you see the sinews, the tendons, the ligaments, the blood vessels? Do you see the skin, the muscles, the fats? Do you see the hairs? Check everywhere in your body with curiosity. There's nothing that you have on this body that will not end up in that forest. Join up with all the other bodies that you have laid to rest. This need not cause any anxiety. Instead, it gives you a sense of relief. As you breathe in and out in the safety of your home. Nothing to fear, but everything to understand. As your tendency to grab and hold on to things slip away. While you observe your life, while you live your life with gratitude and appreciation for the day that you have, for this moment that you have, for the body that you have, and then realize that there's nothing worth to cling to. But this doesn't give you a sense of loss. Far from it. It gives you a sense of freedom, detachment, joy even, playfulness, as you appreciate the body that you inhabit. And you see it for what it is. And thus your body becomes a wonderful instrument for understanding, for wisdom to take place, and for freedom to happen in your heart. The unshakable liberation of the heart, Akuppaceto vimutti. Now, bringing your awareness back to the breath. If you feel like opening your eyes, you may do so, but do so gently, please. And when you open your eyes, make sure your smile is there to greet them, in appreciation for this very courageous effort on your part to explore the unexplored, fearlessly to go where you didn't dare to before, perhaps. And if you want to sit longer, you may do so as well, because this would be the perfect time for a longer sit, to extend your sit, as it will develop your practice in leaps and bounds, granting you much wisdom and clarity of how things come to be. May you all be well and happy. Sukhi Hot.